Hey, what's up, guys? It's Bakes here, and thank you for joining me for today's random horror review. Today's movie is an extremely popular and well known horror film, so I won't make this a big, long winded intro. Today's film is from 1996, directed by Wes Craven, and it is the slasher film Scream. This is my Scream 4 movie set with the first 4 films on it. I've picked up Screams 5 and 6, they're sitting on the shelf as well, just in singular copies, but this is my set. But we're talking about the OG 1996 film today. Like I said, I'm sure everybody knows this movie. The reason why I decided to go with Scream for today's review, like I said, it's extremely popular. Everybody knows this movie, but I was going to watch one of the sequels on this set the other night. But I just thought, I'm like, which movies have I actually reviewed from the Scream franchise on my channel before? And funny enough, the only one I've actually reviewed is Scream 6. And I also looked, and it had been a little while since I'd done a random horror review, so I'm like, you know what, might as well take it all the way to the start, check off the box, and talk about the OG Scream. So that's what we're going to do today. Like I said, every man and their dog, even if you're not a horror movie fan, you would have seen this movie, but to keep routine, I'll quickly do a little plot synopsis of this movie, even though I'm sure a lot of you know it, but I'll keep it brief. So in this town, a bunch of high schoolers and occasionally a few other people are starting to get picked off by this killer wearing this ghost face mask. And you know, in some scenarios it's super iconic, he calls on the phone. Some situations he just stalks them or whatever, but he's essentially picking off a group of high schoolers, and it's a who's doing the murders, as in, you know, it's a big mystery. Lots of red herrings and clues getting thrown around. But as the film goes on, you seem to realise that he has a particular interest in Sidney Prescott, who is our lead in this movie. And yeah, the final climax comes to them, and everyone knows this movie. I'm going to stop fucking talking about it. So let's get into my thoughts of 1996's Scream. Whenever I do a review of a popular horror movie, I always sort of struggle on where to start because, like I said, there are so many fans of this film and everyone has seen it before. Even if you're not a horror movie fan, you would have seen Scream at least once before. So it's kind of like, no matter what I say, I'm not really adding anything new to the conversation. I'm just putting in my 2 cents. You know, I'm adding nothing that you wouldn't have heard before. But like many people, I'm a massive fan of Scream. I think this movie's so cool. Like, every time I watch this movie, I never really get tired of it. Just each and every time I have so much fun with this film. Just what it did for the horror genre, and especially the slasher subgenre. Like, at the time of this movie's release, you know, the slasher subgenre had died off or slowed down a bit, and especially changed from what a slasher film was in the 80s. And yeah, even slasher movies that we get nowadays, you know, they're so reminiscent and follow the blueprint and structure of Scream. And yeah, I just think it's cool how it sort of shaped the slasher landscape going forward, even till current time. Just watching this movie the other night, you know, the opening is just so cool and iconic with Drew Barrymore and her getting picked off, and like every line of dialogue in that intro, in that opening, like I can almost recite it word for word. It's just so iconic. I wasn't born in 1996, I was born in 2001. But people that I talked to that were around for the release of this movie, I remember them saying like it was such a shock to see Drew Barrymore get killed off in that opening. I'm sorry for people that somehow haven't seen this movie and I'm spoiling it for you now, but they were like, it was such a shock. You know, her name is like top billing, and like her face is all over the posters and whatever. Like, they expected her to like last the entire film, and I just think that's so cool. Even now myself, whenever I see a movie where someone's face is predominantly on the poster and they've got big billings and whatever and they get picked off, I call it doing a Drew Barrymore. Like, I can't think of a movie right now, but whenever someone is like promoted as like the main actor or whatever and they get picked off, I just went, they did a Drew Barrymore. Like I said, I'm going to be adding nothing new. This movie is super meta and full of horror references and things like that. And it's not to a point where it's too much. I think it's like the perfect amount. Like, even, again, in the opening, for example, you know, you got Drew Barrymore's character Casey on the phone with the Ghostface Killer, and they're talking about Nightmare on Elm Street, and she goes, yeah, the first one was good, but the rest of them weren't that great. And it just makes you laugh as a horror fan because, of course, Wes Craven directed the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and, you know, of course, he's going to back his own movie, but he's sort of throwing shade at the rest of them in a playful way. I just think that's super cool. My favourite meta moment reference is when Jamie Kennedy's character, Randy, is watching Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween, and he's saying, "Watch out behind you, Jamie, watch behind you," and meanwhile the Ghostface Killer's coming up behind him. It's like breaking the fourth wall of the fourth wall. I just fucking love all the references and things like that, and even if you're not a horror movie fan, it comes across as playful, but for those people who do get the references, it just hits like this nice spot in your heart. It's like, okay, that was just really fucking cool. And like I said, it doesn't become overkill. I feel like in some of the later sequels it does. But yeah, just as I said, from the intro, it just really sucks me in again. What I will say, actually, before I move on from the intro, when I was talking about Drew Barrymore getting killed off, that was actually one of my small nitpick peeves with Scream 5, because they do the same thing with Jenna Ortega. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've seen Jenna Ortega in all the promos and posters and everything. She's about to get picked off. Like, this is so fucking cool. And they didn't. And I don't have anything against Jenna Ortega or what she did in Screams 5 and 6. I like her characters and whatever. But I just kind of wish they had the balls to do that again. But it was almost like they went, oh, well, we got Jenna Ortega. She's a big up-and-coming star. Yeah, I'm not sure if we really want to kill her off. I just would have liked them to do the same as what they did with Drew, but in Scream 5. But yeah, that's enough talking about the intro. I guess we'll move on to the rest of the movie and my thoughts. So moving on to the cast and the performances in this movie, because it's all super iconic and full of notable faces of actors that are associated with Scream, of course, but also movies of around this time. Like, it's just every face is someone where you go, oh, they're from this and they're from that. And of course, most people will associate them with Scream now because the movie's so iconic. But, you know, like I said, you have Neve Campbell as our lead in this movie, Sidney Prescott. And like I said, most people associate her with Scream, but you also had The Craft, which came out at a similar time. I always kind of wish that she did more. Like, she's just super talented, super beautiful. Big fan of Neve Campbell, but you also have Rose McGowan, who plays Tatum, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, Skeet Ulrich. I purposely left Matthew Lillard till last because I am a massive fan of Matthew Lillard. Like, I'm a big fan of, like, real niche actors, and I just feel like he is, like, pinnacle of that. Like, I was so happy when I seen him show up in the Five Nights at Freddy's movie from a couple of years ago. Him as Stu Macher in this movie is like one of, if not my favourite horror movie characters of all time. He's got to be in like the top 10. I love Stu in this movie. Just so full of energy and the charisma that he puts into that character, and just all the quotable moments like, I'm feeling a bit woozy here, and oh, my mum and dad's gonna kill me. It's just like so many good lines. And as I said, most people will associate him with the Scream franchise, and like I said, he's one of my favourite characters put in a horror movie ever. But I associate Matthew Lillard most of all as Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. Like, in the later animated films and TV shows, he went on to voice Shaggy, but him in the live action movies, which I like watched religiously as a kid, and I still watch them now. I love those live action movies. Him as Shaggy is just like the best. Like, I fucking love that shit. But like I said, a lot of these actors that I listed in this first one, they went on to do the sequels as well, unless they died off or whatever. But just super iconic cast, and they all do such a good job and play into the playfulness of this film and the meta nature and references, and they just get what they're doing. Like I said, you have Jamie Kennedy's character Randy, who is the most meta, and you know, he's dropping references to horror movies left, right, and center. But it just feels like everyone's having such a good time during the making of this movie and putting in their all with charisma and things like that. And I just love the relationships built in this movie and how many characters overlap and dropping the red herrings and whatever. This is like the perfect movie of the example of the saying, like, anyone can be the killer. It's just done so well, and just done the right amount where, like, everyone is a suspect. Yes, some of the red herrings are better than others, but like I just love how the characters interact and the mystery going on here. Sometimes when I watch this movie, to be completely honest, Billy wanting to take his relationship and romance with Sydney to the next level, you know, being a bit more physical and whatever. During the start of the movie, I always feel like it comes across as like a little bit lame teen drama, soap opera-ish. But as the movie goes, I sort of let it slide because it's like, okay, that's the red herring that they're setting up for Billy being the killer and everything. And, you know, I let that slide, but I just really love the characters in this movie and the mystery going on, the whodunit. I just think it's all really fucking cool. Alright, so I'm pretty much going to wrap up my review here. I'm sure a lot of you are sitting there going, well, you just wasted a lot of my time. You really fucking broke some new ground there. You love Scream, so does everyone else. But like I said at the start of this video, I wasn't going to be adding anything new because this movie's just super iconic. Everyone's seen it. I was going to be adding nothing fresh to the table. So if you have stuck around just to hear me say something that you guys probably just agree with or you've heard someone say a million times before, I appreciate that. But like as always, I'll give this one a rating out of 10. I'm going to give the OJ Scream from 1996 a 9 out of 10. And the weird thing is, a 9 out of 10 is like a great score, but there will be people still sitting there going, no, that's too low, it's like got to be higher. But I'll tell you what's weird, like if I had to say with my brain what is the best film in the Scream franchise, I would say the first one. But if I was going with my heart and like maybe going with like a little bit of an underdog pick, I won't say which Scream entry is right up there with the first one. Like it really is neck and neck with which one I like more. I'll wait till I eventually get around to those films, to that film. But there is a sequel that I think is right up there with this one. But I'll leave that up in the air until one day I eventually get around to it. But thank you for joining me for this review, guys. Like I said, I understand I added nothing fresh to the table, but that's what it is sometimes. Sometimes you just want to talk about a movie that everyone knows and just get off your chest, yeah, it is fucking a good film. So thank you for joining me for this review, guys. I appreciate it as always. Let me know your thoughts of Scream in the comments below. I'm sure it's just going to be exactly what I said. Most of the people out there, I don't know, there are many people that aren't fans of Scream. Honestly, I feel like Scream is one of the most consistent franchises, as in, I don't think there is a film that is bad. Like the worst one in the franchise in my opinion is the third film, but it's not bad, it's just like average, like it's just not as good as what the rest of them are. But yeah, I'll leave this review there, guys. Thank you for joining me and I'll see you for another video soon. Peace.